G'day, Smutty Legends, and welcome back. Sorry I'm late. We get what we get and we don't get upset though. So just remind yourself that. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Let's just crack into it, okay? It's late. I'm late. I'm sorry. It's dark here. So you get some ambiance tonight. So we're up to chapter 10 and we're back with Ryth. Decent little chapter, this one. So I haven't read ahead, don't worry. I'm still cracking along with you guys, as painful as it is. So I feel your pain. Anyway, she was really happy, like really happy. Whatever the lawyers had told her had turned her into a woman I barely knew. A woman who threw her head back and unleashed a throaty laugh at something Creed had just said to her. A slightly intoxicated laugh. Sit, she gushed, coming back to reality and remembering we were actually in the room, motioning to the massive dining table. I didn't look, just pulled out a chair and sank, smoothing my dress under my ass as I went. What's going on? Nick muttered, glancing at his dad, who grinned and lifted a half-filled glass of scotch in the air. We've got some important news, Creed announced through his grin. It was the money. And Dad. He was getting out of prison. He was coming home. My mind raced thinking about the kind of new life we'd have. I didn't care if it involved the feds or court cases. I just wanted him home and with us. Nick pulled out a chair and sat on my left, his confused stare taking in the display. The table was beautiful. Silver plates gleamed, shining against the long black tablecloth that skimmed my lap. The sight only heightened my excitement more. I could barely see Mum in the dim candlelight as she leaned over, wobbling, and struck a match to light the third candle in the middle of the table. Caleb sat at the end of the table and scowled at them as though this was strange to him. Want to tell us what's going on? My chest tightened with excitement, my breath barely moving as Creed glanced around the table. He was looking for Tobias, hoping that he'd take part in the celebration. I licked my lips, the words on the end of my tongue. I wanted to tell him that it didn't matter about Tobias. We didn't really need him. I was excited for us. Dad's getting released. That's all I thought about. It's all that consumed me. I barely saw the movement, not until it was too late, as Tobias dragged the chair out on my right and sank down beside me. I glanced his way, my pulse hammering. He didn't look at me. He just glared at his father with that same moody look. I'd seen him leave before, seen him from the window in Nick's room. The fries sat heavy in my stomach, oily and hard against the cold chocolate shake I'd just downed. Poor Nick. I glanced his way as he shot me a careful smile, then glanced back to his dad as Creed cleared his throat, standing next to my mum. Nick had been nice to me, taken me to school, getting me food. My cheeks burned at the memory of what I'd done in his car. But I quickly shoved it to the side. I was almost sad not to talk to him again. So we've had a pretty major development today, Creed started. Mum's eyes twinkled, riveting me to the spot. We wanted to tell you, we wanted you all here to be the first to know. Creed glanced at Mum and then back at us again. Elle and I, we're getting married. My mum smiled, her gaze fixed on me. My stomach lurched. The booming in my ears muffled their words. What the fuck did you just say? Caleb growled. But Creed just smiled. I know it must seem like a bit of a shock. He lifted his glass and drained the contents. You can't. My words were hollow as I glanced at Mum. You're already married. The intoxicated sparkle in her eyes grew bolder. No, not anymore. Your father signed the divorce papers today. She swallowed hard. We're still working on getting him out, though, Ree. But we want a stable home for you and your new brothers. My new brothers? No, 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 no. I closed my eyes, trying to understand. You're marrying her? Nick snarled, glaring at my mum. Barely 2 months after Mum has died? Her body is barely cold. Still think he's a good guy, brother? Tobias murmured. I clenched my eyes shut tighter. This wasn't happening. This wasn't happening. The tablecloth brushed my lap before a hand landed on my thigh. For a second, I didn't understand what was happening. My mind was frantic and dull all at the same time, like a muffled scream consuming me. And as that hand gripped tighter and pulled, I yanked my eyes open, that scream in my head growing clearer. Tobias stared across the table to where Creed and Mum stood, a glint of broken glass in his eyes. Married. Panic roared as he shoved my dress high and pressed his fingers against my sex. What the fuck? Stop. I flinched with the contact and jerked my gaze to Mum. We want you guys to be happy. Mum's words turned throaty as that intoxicated gleam shimmered with tears. We realize this is sudden. His fingers slid against me, driving deep. That trapped scream in my head had nowhere to go, howling and shrieking in the void. Stop this, stop it now. Ryth, having stepbrothers will be good for you, Mum insisted, smiling. And having a little stepsister will be good for the three of you too. Creed looked at Tobias. But they didn't see what he was doing, didn't see his fingers sliding inside of me, curling as he found my clit, his voice hollow and strange when he answered, I think so too. Mum's eyes still shimmered with tears, her smile wide as she turned to Creed. I knew this was a good idea. Tobias yanked the elastic on my panties aside. I clenched my fists and shoved upwards until I was stopped by Nick's hand on my arm. Nick turned his gaze towards me, those golden brown eyes darkened to the same stony stare. What? I whispered. No. We're in love, Mum declared as she stared into Creed's eyes. I tried to shove against the table, but Nick held my arm down, trapping me. Stepsister, he growled as Tobias' fingers found my clit, rubbing and sliding and stroking the heat inside me. Heat strangled with revulsion, coated with humiliation. Nick, please, I whispered, shaking my head. I didn't need to lift my gaze to see my mother and Creed kissing, oblivious to what Tobias was doing to me. Heat moved deeper as he slid his finger deep inside me. Nick clenched his grip tighter around my arm. From across the table, the act would be seen as comfort, but here, it was anything but. My belly clenched, those oily fries burning in the pit of my stomach as Nick dragged my hand from the table and moved the tablecloth aside. I didn't understand at first until he lowered his gaze. Those ravenous eyes fixed on the movement between my thighs. He wanted to see what his brother was doing. Nick tugged my dress higher, bunching it up against my hips until he saw what his brother's glistening fingers as they slid in and out of my pussy. We know it soon, Mum cooed, staring into Creed's eyes, but this feels right. It does, Tobias urged. Very right. I closed my eyes, hating how under the shame, need grew inside me. My body moved against his invasion, rocking, desperate for more. I knew I was slick. I was going to come right here in front of everyone, under the hand of my soon-to-be stepbrother. The thought ignited the panic inside me. No! I shoved my chair backwards, tearing Tobias's hand from inside my panties, and stumbled away, ripping from Nick's hold. My face burned, the heat consuming me as the tears came. My mum glanced my mum glanced my way as my dress fell, settling around my thighs. Ryth! Pain coursed through her voice. You bitch! I spat, hate fueling me. You fucking bitch! Ryth! Creed bellowed, his happiness darkening with anger. That's no way to talk to your mother. But I didn't care. I didn't fucking give a shit. I jerked a glare at Tobias, then Nick. Both of them looked at me with merciless need. I was just a game to them, a cruel fucking game. I wasn't safe in this house. I was the prey. I turned and lunged, hurling myself out of the dining room and towards the stairs. My legs didn't work right, my knees buckling as I hit the first stair. I grasped the banister, holding on as I found my footing and shoved upwards. The stairs were a blur through my tears. I hit the 3rd floor before I knew it and made to my room, slamming the door behind me before I threw myself onto my bed. She betrayed him. She betrayed him. She betrayed my dad. Tears came hard and fast, soaking in the pillow. I fisted the sheets and screamed, "I fucking hate you!" The words burned, ripping from the middle of my chest, but even as the heat of them pressed against my face, I knew they were a lie. I didn't hate her. I couldn't hate her. And that's what hurt the most. The light thud of footsteps came. "Ryth," Mum called from the other side of the door. "Go away." "Ryth, honey, I know this is hard to hear." She wouldn't go away. No matter how tight my fist clenched and that burning pit inside me raged, she wouldn't leave. Instead, the sound of her sobs came through the door. "You think this was easy for me? Your father and I haven't been good for a very long time, but I stayed. I stayed for you." I shook my head. I didn't want to hear this. "Your father's a bad man, Ryth. He's done terrible things, dangerous things. Things that put us in danger. Things that got our house burnt down." I lifted my head, my breaths coming hard and brutal. "We're still in danger," she whispered close to the door. "And this is me doing what I have to do. This is me protecting us." I shoved from the bed and stumbled, making my way to the door. I yanked it open to find my mum's tear-stained, tortured expression. She took one look at me and burst into sobs again, stumbling forward to throw her arms around me. "Oh, Ryth, I wanted to tell you for so long. I needed to tell you, but you were so young, so innocent." Innocent. Like I was last night? My body clenched, the feel of his fingers still so real. I swallowed and held her, winding my arms around her and burying my head into her neck. She still smelled like Mum, soft, warm, and perfect. "Mum," I blubbered. "I'm happy, Ryth." She managed to stop crying and pulled away to stare into my eyes. "For the first time in a very long time, I'm actually happy. I just need you to be happy for me." But how could I? How could I when just hours ago she was married to my dad and unhappy? Slick warm tears slipped down my cheeks. My mind was at war. I knew they were always fighting, knew Dad was always away. I knew the men Dad worked for were dangerous men. The memory of that sleek black Rossi sedan driving past our house as it burned to the ground. My pulse boomed as she stroked my hair. "I'm going down for this. I'm doing this for both of us. I need you, Ree. I can't do this on my own." Desperation swelled inside me as I met her tear-stained gaze. "Can you do that?" she whispered. "Can you please just try?" Try with the feel of Tobias's fingers inside me. Not Tobias, stepbrother. The words resounded inside me. That thunder inside me grew as Mum waited for an answer. I wanted to tell her about what had happened, but the desperation in her eyes stopped the words cold. "I'll try, Mum," I answered. "I'll try." She burst into tears again, with relief this time, yanking me hard against her chest. "I knew you would. I just knew it. I love you so much, honey." "I love you too, Mum." My tone was dull as I stared through the open doorway at the hall as Tobias sauntered up the stairs, glancing my way as he rounded the newel post, the cruel smirk on his mouth growing. She squeezed me tighter, then pulled back. "I know this is too much, and I know it's really soon, but I was wondering if you wanted to be my bridesmaid. I flinched, meeting her excitement. Creed and I said we wanted this to be small, keep it in the family. What do you say? I swallowed, those words resounding inside me as I nodded. Keep it in the family. If only she knew. Well, that escalated quickly. I did not see that coming. Drop in the comments if you did, because I had nothing. No, I didn't see that coming at all. So, stay tuned for next week when we're back with the next chapter, and let me know if you want 2 chapters a week or just keep it the single chapter, because I feel like this is dragging on and I really want to get into the good bits and it's starting to come through. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you want to see more. Otherwise, I'll just keep it at the single post a week on Thursdays. I'm a bit late this week, but Thursday this week will come around real quick. So, it's a win-win. Anyway, until next time, smutty reading, love.